It is necessary to purge the establishment.
What she's suggesting that churches do, focus on...
That's not necessarily a good thing to start with.
They're stating it wasn't around when we needed the greatest generation of the 30s or 40s.
It happened before the election because there's too many Republicans that are afraid that their wrongdoings are going to...
It's unacceptable, and I'm not going to sit here, stay silent, and not call it out. I'm calling out their lies.
Do they think that we are so stupid that we will not notice and find out?
I am a raging patriot. So fun. We just did a chillin' with KSOK before the show here, since we were running a little late, and I got to chat with so many of you. So that was really awesome. And I hope that you came over, because we have an amazing guest today who's actually a personal friend of mine. His name is Brandon, and he is a travel nurse originally from Arizona. And I will explain how we met. And but he's going to be able to answer some questions and share experiences with us here on the show. Before we have Brandon come in, can you guys even believe the fact that, you're probably saying yes, but Oregon's governor, Kate Brown, if it's Brown, flush it down, FYI, but she just signed a law basically saying that you can graduate from high school in the state of Oregon without knowing how to read, write, or do basic math. And she said she's doing this in the name of inequality. So what that tells me is she is saying, if you're not white, you're a dumb shit. And we're doing this so that you can pass high school and you can get a GED or whatever. I don't even know her MO, because it's so ass backwards to me. So she is saying to be on an even playing field or a level playing field, that she is making it to where you can graduate without knowing very basic things that most people know how to do by the time they're out of elementary school. If that's not sad, I don't know what is. Absolutely disgusting. The other thing is that in the state of Washington, my neighbor state, right up top here, in Washington, they are requiring the Governor Inslee. Let's not forget, Washington, Oregon, and California, they're in a West Coast pact. They work together. They copy each other. So Governor Inslee in the state of Washington has made it mandatory for all first responders and nurses and people in the medical field, where they have to be vaccinated, or they have to claim some type of religious act. But the problem is that so many people who, yes, would consider themselves religious are now having to lie or white lie to say that they're extremely religious or in a special sect of their religion to not have to get the vaccine. Now, in the state of Oregon, there was a bill that passed, I believe it was in 1996, that basically says that they can't force anyone to have a vaccine. There can't be a vaccine mandate in the state of Oregon. But you and I both know that they are digging around for a loophole as we speak, because they all act together. Washington, Oregon, and California. Where you see it in one state, you'll see it in the three very soon after. So absolutely crazy things happening here on the left coast. At the same time, I am seeing a lot more freedom rallies come out. I'm attending one this weekend, and I am meeting a great group of gals that I've never met in person. We're going to go together and we are going to represent. It's time to quit bitching about things and do something about it, like all these other countries are doing when they're going against the vaccine passports. Anyways, time to get boots on the ground, folks. I'm going to bring Brandon in. But let's bring him in, and then I will share an image with you. Hey, B, how's it going?
Good, Kay. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you. I'm glad we were able to get the technology working this time.
Absolutely. I was so nervous leading up to it, but glad we're here. It's a
Oh
little
my God.
delayed, but yeah, it's good.
Well, the last time you were supposed to be on, I think it was going to be an hour, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Juan had to come in and save me at the end. I did like 45 minutes on my own. I was like dying, so Juan came in and helped me
Oh my
out.
God.
So I'm glad technology worked.
Yeah, I think the last time I tried to do it from just my S10, Galaxy S10 phone, but nah, it didn't work out. But we're good this time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
laptop. So
Well, I'm happy to hear it. Well, well, let's dive into it. Oh, we've got Drew up here. Welcome back, everyone. Yay. I
Drew.
love the interaction here. Yeah, Drew's on there. Smash the thumbs up. You guys are so nice to me. Well, it's funny. The people that have been following me for a while, they know that I'm not going to be like, I don't like over promote myself because I want to be really organic. But at the same time, I need those likes so that we can grow the channel because I'm shadow banned. So anyways, so thank you guys for standing up for me when I don't necessarily do it for myself. But all right, Brandon, I'm going to share the story about how you and I met, and feel free to chime in. This one's interesting, and I'll share it so that you don't feel like you're sharing information you're not allowed to share. So basically, has it been 3 or 4 years now, Brandon?
By this early November, it would be 4 years.
4 years. Okay. So 4 years ago, I was in Arizona for my cousin's wedding, and it was my last day in Arizona, and I was drinking. So the entire time I was in Arizona, it was hot, and I was drinking coffee all day long and then margaritas at night. I'm not even kidding. So before you knew it, I had become dehydrated, and I'm at my cousin's wedding, danced for 2 hours straight. I mean, I had all my family around. We were just wiling out. So dancing for 2 hours straight. Long story short, I ended up in the hospital in Arizona with tachycardia, where my heart rate was like at 140, 150 for like 12 hours. And Brandon ended up being my nurse on the heart floor. And so that's how we met. Can we show the image of Brandon in his scrubs? There we go. Of course, this is during the pandemic. This isn't when he didn't need that just to meet me. But this is what Brandon's been suited up in for the last year and a half. Thank you, Juan, for sharing that. But yeah, so that's our interesting story. I'm pretty sure you even, we're so close, Brandon. You even had to measure my urine at one point. So, we have that lifelong bond.
Yeah. I didn't even know you had to measure your urine.
That's hilarious.
Absolutely.
But anyways, you guys, I'm totally fine now. It was just a freak thing. But anyways, that did happen, and it wasn't fun. But Brandon made it, the best that it could be. So we are bonded for life.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that.
Thank you, Kat.
And you guys, I have to say, when people say women are crazy, they are, because I only had Brandon's first name and the hospital that I was at, and I was able to hunt him down and and connect with him. So when a woman wants to achieve something, she will cyber stalk you until she finds you. Yeah. So that's, of course, I wasn't doing it in a psychotic way. I just really wanted to be a friend because I just felt this connection. But anyways, that's how that happened. And the rest is history.
Rest is history. And let me tell you, the name on the whiteboard,
yes.
That's about the only way I think you had to find me, because they're really on you about putting your name on the whiteboards, and I'm just kind of annoyed about it. So I'm like, I go in, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll scribble my name down. I think you took a picture of it. I remember you showed me, and I'm like, man, that's kind of messy. I can't believe you made that out. So,
you're like, man, she's crazy. No, I gotcha. I think it's a standard practice, but yeah, I did. I was like, I am going to find that guy. So anyways, yeah, a little cray, but now we're friends forever. But Brandon, let's dive into it. You have been around, you've been travel nursing through this pandemic. I like to say plandemic, but I'll leave it there. And I know that you have been, what do you call them? Stationed, or you've had gigs. What's the technical term?
You've had contracts. The way the original travel works is they set up contracts, generally 13 weeks for you to go into a place. Hospitals may have needs for whatever reason. They just can't get people there a certain time of year, or, you have the plan or pandemic, like what started last year, mid-spring. So how can I describe it? So I came home from, kind of near where you were at, 2 hours north in Gig Harbor. I was at home for a month or two, and then I went out on assignment because I couldn't get work because the whole country shut down. Our unit was sharing, our PCCU was sharing with observation, so we're sharing with other full-time employees, which means you're the first to get canceled since I'm part-time. So I'm like, where am I going to go? I had LA or Boston. So I was like, well, LA is close to home, so I jumped and I went into what was a COVID assignment, not knowing anything about it.
Okay, I want to hear, because you and I have talked, and this was your nastiest assignment. You hated LA, so let's hear it. I want to hear. Let's hear the juice. Spill the tea.
The juice. Okay, so it's hard to know where to start because, we found out more and more about COVID about every 3 months. So, I don't know if I'm going to wake up in my hotel room a few weeks later and be dead, or come down with pneumonia, or come down with a cold. So it's like, it's not just COVID that was crazy. It's everything that went around COVID. New York was totally different than LA and Atlanta or wherever it was at. So let's not, forget that a month after I started, the riots blew up. Yes, the riots. And even 2 days before the riots, I had been through gunfire after trying to help a homeless guy, get up after he got hit by a car on his bike. So he started yelling at that car, and then to get the guy to go away, the car starts firing his gun.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember that story.
Yeah, I told it at the barbecue. You and Dave were sitting there. Yeah, you and your hubby.
You're supposed to just pretend like you didn't tell me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So just the craziness of downtown LA and a fucking shit hospital. By the way, most of the patient population either speaks Mandarin or they speak Spanish. So communication barriers are tough. To start out, these patients at this time weren't that sick. Some were sick, and actually my first patient, the very first morning with my preceptor, we had to call time of death on him. Kind of sad, but I didn't really see sick patients till I came back intermittently to Phoenix midsummer. I had an incident when I was walking from the COVID unit, after being all gowned up. I'm walking over the 405 or I-10 or whatever interstate goes through downtown there, and traffic is blocked because there's crazy people standing in the freeway, and cops don't know what to do about it. And I'm going over the freeway, and anyone that's out is just sketchy. I came to an intersection that was full of armored cops and full of a huge crowd of people, and there were trash can fires, there was profanity, saying fuck cops on federal buildings, nice buildings, anything you name it, cops suck dick. So yeah, I had to walk through that in my scrubs and a bag of Chipotle. Probably the only reason I'm alive is because I'm in scrubs with a badge that says RN.
Oh my gosh. That is insane. Yeah. That sounds like a war zone, like literally.
It was.
It sounds like Portland, actually.
Yeah. Well, that sounded really crazy. I mean, it was like something out of a movie. You kind of had to pinch yourself as to what the hell was going on. I'm like, okay, I'm in a pandemic, and all these crazy riots and violence is blowing up. Looking up above, at all times, there must have been 8 to 10 choppers flying around, hovering around with cameras down, just seeing what's going on. So eventually, they called the National Guard in because so much stuff got destroyed, which probably, I don't know, I probably should have texted you photos in of, my favorite smoothie shop that got absolutely torn apart. Can't go there anymore. They're shut down. I think they're a chain, but still, that's very sad.
Well, yeah, because a lot of them are franchised, and so it still is a small business. I think a lot of people forget that even though it's a chain, they're franchised out outside of Starbucks. Starbucks, don't go there. But anyways, yeah, they're franchised out, so it's probably a minority owner, and they're just destroying.
Right. We also,
anyways,
right. And I'm a little off topic, so I apologize. But let's not forget, we also had small businesses desperately putting up signs saying, please don't destroy us. We're Black owned. And guess what? Some of them still got torn apart.
Right. That's a good point. They don't give a shit. They don't care.
No,
It's
no.
destruction at all cost. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan has a question.
So-
Are the illegals flooding the hospitals? Can we pivot to that real quick?
Sure. I did not see anything undocumented hearsay. There were plenty of Hispanics here and there. Like I said, all the drama that happened in and around the COVID, I remember a week in, I don't know if they're illegal or not, but we had an elderly Hispanic lady accuse my tech of hitting her as she was, helped her getting dressed. This is just some of the drama that goes on. And, because the tech had 2 other nurses as a witness, it wasn't really looked into. So she got discharged, and then this young guy, maybe her grandson, keeps calling in and harassing me and our staff. And they called LAPD saying, hey, what are you doing, bro? You don't do that. So I got to go down and I got to fucking talk to LAPD and resolve all this drama. I mean, they were cool. They, dismissed me after a few moments. Then one of my techs that was working for me was Hispanic. And then it's crazy. She's Hispanic and looked right at me and says, Brandon, you better watch out. Those fucking Mexicans, will pull shit like that. I'm like, whoa, to hear, Hispanics talk that way about other Hispanics. I was like, holy cow.
Wow. That's surreal.
Yeah.
So they're basically saying, because it really was like, and it still is happening, but it definitely like June, July, August last year, it was very much like race wars, right? And so
yeah, absolutely.
I can see how you were probably being targeted, bad white man. So yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I told you about that night a few moments ago where I came home and was all the mayhem, and any car driving around was just like, woohoo, Black Lives Matter. And it was, most of them are black people and they were raising hell. So I kind of went back out about 11:30 at night just to kind of people watch since I was so bored. And
you're crazy.
After walking to the street corner, I looked kind of down at myself. I'm like, dude, you're not in scrubs anymore. You better get back inside. You are a right-wing white Christian male. So you're the most evil person on the planet, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, you're so right. It's exactly what's happening right now. And obviously I'm in the same boat, but female. So I have a little bit more wiggle room there, but not much. So
right.
Yeah, it's okay. So we have a question here. Are the hospitals full? I know. Okay, first off, let me just say, Brandon is now, you're in a travel assignment in Washington State, north of Seattle. So I won't be specific on that. But where you're at, do you believe that the hospitals, have you witnessed that they are as full as the news is portraying?
Once again, this all depends on location. I know this hospital, Providence Everett Medical Center up here in Everett, we had that heat wave come by. What was it, a month
Dan
ago?
Just said, Brandon.
Nice. I like that.
Brandon's like, yeah. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, all that Orange Theory. That's okay. But we did have the ER had about 120 people waiting to get in, but that wasn't necessarily for COVID issues. I do know the COVID issues have been increasing more and more. Is that the Delta variant? I don't know. I've texted my friend all the way back on the East Coast. I'm like, hey, are there some extra lab results that we're doing that says something else besides SARS-CoV-2? That's what shows up on their labs.
Okay.
If they're positive for COVID-19, it's SARS-CoV-2. And she's like, no, but a lot of what we're seeing is they're unvaccinated. And of course, that's a whole nother rabbit hole topic we can go down. Is I'll see nurses in the hospital, they just kind of roll their eyes and they're like, oh, it's them unvaccinated people again. I'm like, well, you don't know that. I have a nurse friend back in Arizona right now at Abrazo, which is just southwest of Honor. She's had 7 COVID patients in the past few days, and 5 out of 7 were vaccinated that had COVID.
There you go. I think that's a more real example of what's happening.
So now, like I said, timeline is everything. I really started to learn about COVID mid-June when I started to come back home and help out my peeps in Phoenix. my family, ground zero where I started my nursing career. And our unit, the PCC unit, by the way, PCCU, everyone stands for Progressive Cardiac Care Unit. This wasn't the unit I met Kay on, but generally we take downgrade cabbages, pneumonia, we can take some trauma and everything, but we turned into the COVID unit and I came back and that's where I really saw sick people. Don't get me wrong, they were sick, but a lot of them had comorbidities, they were pretty obese, and they could be your heavier set elderly person who's on a lot of oxygen, something called a BiPAP, which presses against your face, or they have a high flow nasal cannula, which pushes a high volume of oxygen into you, or they could be 28 years old and they're just walking around on 2 liters nasal cannula, getting their routine dose of remdesivir and COVID-19 plasma. So the plasma and remdesivir is thought to be beneficial, but that was protocol.
Okay. That was all, you know, that was all very impressive. I'm like, yeah, keep talking medical. I mean, I read the medical speak here. Well, I think Alan's asking, I feel like you may have already addressed this, but can they tell what variant you have? You're saying no, that the labs, they look the same. It's the SARS, yada, yada, right? It's
right. Okay. At this point, we can't tell based on who I've texted. I apologize as every now and then I just throw out medical jargon and I don't really realize the general population has no idea what I'm talking about. But Alan, at this time, no. But as far as right now, I'm going to kind of remain neutral and hold my breath. It sounds like a younger population is sick. I just had an honored friend recently visit me. Well, she was taking care of her brother's place up here and Snoqualmie Falls. So we went hiking. We just went to Olympic National Park. We went to Lake 22, and their unit is now the COVID unit. That's, you know, the original unit that I met Kay on. And sounds like there's some younger individuals that are getting infected now. And I see stories, spam stories of San Antonio. The Children's Hospital has more and more infected children. Not sure what to think. It's unfortunate, but once again, there's no lab test at this point that shows Delta.
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you what I think, and this will probably get me even farther shadow banned, but I think that the first round, I know it was manufactured, the first round that went out did impact those, let's say 65 and older primarily. And now it's like, okay, we want to do more damage. We're going to put another strain out that impacts, this is just me in my conspiracy theories. We're going to put another strain out that impacts the childbearing age, right? Let's hit the not necessarily middle age, but more the 20s to the 40s. Because you're right, I am hearing that people in that age range are getting more impacted, or they're actually getting sicker than originally, the original strain or whatnot. Again, it's hard to even tell what's what, but there is it is apparent that there's a difference in who it's impacting. And for me, I feel like, you know, I don't put it past them to say, all right, let's start wiping out some younger ones. That's just me. Call me crazy. Yeah. But I mean, I already called myself crazy earlier, but it's like, I don't put anything past the government anymore. They're trying to kill us. I swear. Where's my tin hat? My metal. But I mean, that's what I think. Oils. Yeah. I know. I need my foil. I had one at one point. But,
yeah.
But I'm serious. But it's like,
I'm not. You know, it's unfortunate. I haven't ruled it out. I've kind of speculated on that. Is there someone out there possibly releasing a new strain? What are they doing out there in Wuhan? And you know what? I think there's a CDC branch in that city there near Wuhan, and the CDC director wanted to go in there and investigate what was going on, and they wouldn't let him. Some story I read.
Oh, wow.
They would not let him. And yeah, it's unfortunate. So the further I got along in my assignments, I did do a brief stint in Oklahoma City, which I hate to say, sorry people, I hate that probably more than LA because there was just nothing there. They treated their nurses like shit. What made LA just a little bit better was
I am curious. Let's unpack that because I want to know, like, I know it was boring for you because you're a single guy and you wanted to be able to meet people, and basically you said
Yeah.
You said the town like shut down early, and people are already wifed up, and you didn't have the single dudes to hang out with, the single chicks type of thing. But what I didn't really realize that it was necessarily the way you were treated at the hospital. So I'm just curious, like, what was that experience like?
It's kind of a
I'd like
hit or
to know
miss
what Wade
experience.
means by very tight.
Very tight.
Wade's
I don't
being,
know. I'm looking at
this is Mayor Wade right here.
Starting out in LA, yeah, I actually did talk to a chick or two through a dating app. One actually came and visited me from Arizona. So,
Ooh.
but I know. And you're not allowed to have guests in these hotels who house COVID-19 workers and snuck the person in. And otherwise, if they found out, you could lose your benefits because they were helping the COVID-19 workers out. But yeah, nothing in Oklahoma City. Yeah, you're not going to find anything in Oklahoma City. Juan's pointing down.
Oh, we want to put that image up? Is that what we're doing here? All right.
What are my thoughts on
I know you're very favorite.
treatments?
Oh, okay.
Can you be more specific? Monoclonal treatments?
Meanwhile, let's do this one. I know, Brandon, your very favorite contract was in Southern California. You were in like the nicer area. Let's put up one of the images.
Awesome.
Of you and your surfboard. I love it. And Drew is so awesome. He stuck the KSOK Uncensored on the board. How cool. But love it. Oh, we can't hear Brandon right now. They got a long look at that picture. But
okay. Can you hear me, Kate?
I can now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just call it the Orange County contract. Yeah, that was actually LA. I was visiting my buddy George, who I went to nursing school with. He was 2 semesters ahead of me. But yeah, briefly in LA, I was able to get out. But Orange County was fun, although it was where patients were the most sick. COVID wiped out a lot of the sniffs. Sadly, I had probably 3 or 4 patients I've had to call time of death on, but that was because they were on a morphine drip. You kind of monitor them till they expire. And so it's a different thing. I kind of had a weird thought one of those days when you're like the very last person that in that patient's life.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of an intense feeling because my church told me one day, after this patient finally was more relaxed and expired, he was like, oh, you were in his room. He must have felt it was, the best time to go. He must have felt like, oh man, that's an intense thought.
That's heavy.
So,
that's heavy.
But it is heavy, yeah. And eventually I got used to gowning up and gowning off, and that's a lot of the work. It's very tedious.
Yeah.
I lived in a nice area in that contract. It had the best compensation, but don't get me wrong, it was hard work. And
real quick, I hate to cut you off here, but let's answer. Bruno had the question earlier, and we have his the specifics you were requesting here. Ivermectin. I've heard about ivermectin.
Regeneron with ivermectin. Ivermectin, I just read an article about that actually yesterday, I think. So, yeah, yesterday was actually the first time I read about that on break. So, all I know was it's said to be effective, and there's these drugs that have been known to be effective, and they're not exactly releasing them out there. I'm not sure why. I know hydroxychloroquine, they stopped that, I think, the second week of July.
Because it's cheap.
Because maybe
and affordable. That's why.
Cheap and affordable. And
yep, we're like, no.
So
we get money to have people on ventilators, so we're just gonna we'll let them die. Right. I want to ask you, Brandon. Have you heard of Frontline Doctors of America?
I possibly have, yeah.
Okay. So basically for viewers out there, and I will put the link in, but basically, like, for instance, I just went through Frontline Doctors of America, and they're actual doctors that believe in your right to be able to obtain medicines that actually are known to cure COVID-19 or at least drastically decrease symptoms. So you do like a phone consult, and I opted to have the hydroxychloroquine and zinc. So it'll be sent to me just in case I ever get COVID. I will have it on hand. My entire extended family has done this. And for the folks in my family that have like high blood pressure, hypertension, anything heart related, ivermectin is what was suggested versus hydroxychloroquine. But basically, these are real doctors, real prescriptions, and they know that this stuff works. And so it's available out there. So again, I'll have to put the link on there. I just think, why not be prepared, because we all know the government's not looking out for us. So let's look out for ourselves.
Absolutely, that is right. Yeah, please post that link. And that's interesting. I didn't know about high blood pressure. For those of you who don't know, that's referred to as the silent killer. Trashes the heart and kidneys. So I definitely would be more interested in that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And I just caught someone's question there. They asked me if those patients died from COVID-19 or a car accident. I'm assuming he's referring to, or whatever injury they came in with. So what I saw in Orange County, COVID-19 was the hair that kind of pushed them over the edge. They had a lot of other stuff going on with them, diabetes, morbid obesity. COVID-19 was that hair that kind of pushed them over the edge and caused the landslide. But
of course, Wade's comical statement comes up after such a serious topic. Leave it to Wade to lighten the mood. He's dated a few nurses. He can answer a lot of questions.
Oh man!
Sure.
Oh boy!
Oh wow!
Many different nurses
are
out there.
FREKS.
Yeah, we are. Especially ICU nurses. So I can recall one guy though. I do recall one guy who, I don't think he had that much going on. He probably was in his upper 50s in Orange County, who his respiratory rate was really fast. You know, his oxygen saturation, what's referred to as SpO2, was in the 90s. It was okay. His blood gases were a little off. That measures the CO2 and pH of your blood. But for some reason, he was decompensating and not doing well. And eventually, he opted to be electively ventilated, and he didn't come back. And this is after I had called his daughter, who was my age, saying, hey, you know, I bumped his oxygen down a little bit. He has a little bit of buffer. Let's see what happens. I'm optimistic. And, you know, the family was very nice and patient with me. Many of the times they weren't, understandably. But yeah, he didn't come back. And I had many more cases like that. I think it probably would do a number. So that's the one case that I know of in my experience of 10 months that, yeah. So we could be, I mean, if you go.
Like family members were not allowed in the rooms, right?
Family members of every protocol I know of, unless it was terminal illness, family members were not allowed in the rooms. So another point I'll make, it seems like families were being a little too ushered or kind of really hushed and hurried into making their family member DNR.
Oh, wow.
Because the hospital was kind of bottlenecked a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Juan, we're bouncing back and forth here, but we've got it up here. American Frontline Doctors. So write that down, you guys. I'm serious. Like, it was $90 for the consultation. And then they write you a prescription, and then you can use whatever pharmacy you use. You have a real prescription, and you actually you can do a phone visit with the doctor. They go over your medical history, or you can do a video chat. You choose. And then you get your prescription, and you pick it up and you have it just in case. So if Juan doesn't, it sounds like Juan has done it too. So he's aware of this also. So like I said, I'm not even kidding. My Arizona family, Brandon, you've met my Arizona family, my Aunt Roseanne and Ken, they are the ones who got we have a big family, our entire family across the United States. We've all done this. And so it's just like, why not just protect yourself like that? And there are doctors out there that believe in, like, if there's medicine that works, it should be available. And so these doctors, I know you can donate to them too. But anyways, for me, it's a $90 well spent. But thanks for finding that one. I appreciate that. Yeah. good to have. But well, Brandon, I do want to ask you. I know that this is important. Oh, good. A doctor. My VA doctor says vaccines are ineffective and would be more harmful than good. Actually, my dad's cardiologist said the same thing to him. So there are doctors out there willing to speak out, even though their career could be put on the line. So and God bless them for doing that.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that from that VA doctor. That's good.
Yeah, for sure. Because we definitely know that's like the minority of what's happening. But Brandon, I want to ask you on vaccines, and I don't want to get personal on this, but I just want your overall opinion on. So you work with a lot of medical personnel, obviously. What is the tone that you're hearing coming from fellow staffers that work with you concerning being mandatory to get vaccinated?
Well, this is just crazy because when you go into healthcare, whether you're a doctor or you're a nurse, you take an oath saying that you will agree to do what's best for the patient and what's best for the patient's wishes. And the vibe seems to be 90% seem to be for the, and there's a lot of chitter chatter around the workplace, kind of indirect harassment or bullying, like they know someone's in the room who's not vaxxed or is not for the mandates. And they just start talking shit. They just start saying they shouldn't be in healthcare. They're stupid. Like they're going to learn their lesson and die. And
wow,
when I went,
tell us how you really feel. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
And
so
I feel like, can people even sue at this point? Like, I feel like are attorneys even willing to take on these discrimination lawsuits at this point because it's happening everywhere? I mean, like, has anyone that you have witnessed being like bullied or treated this way in the workplace, has anyone talked about filing a suit? Any chatter?
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of people back in Arizona. So we got this email on our health data about 2 weeks ago. It really started to roll out on mandating the vaccine. And of course, our CEO used our big mission line to improve the health and well-being of those we serve. I'm like, oh my God, whatever. So yeah, I don't know if you can file suit. Granted, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if you can, since it was pushed under emergent conditions and everything. But I got a text for a flyer. There is a private Facebook page right now called Arizona Advocates, and it probably has 1,200 members right now, a mix of us from Banner and Honor, and we're trying to get the word out to have what's called Call Off Friday, which is tomorrow, Friday the 13th, to try and get these higher leaders up attention that, hey, we mean business. They're pretty crazy to make these kind of mandates. Hospitals are already short-staffed as it is. And yet they're going to just throw out these crazy mandates, and they don't realize nurses are already under intense ratios, that to which the hospital takes no responsibility for, but yet it's the nurse's license. And that's not fair. That's bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. And, personally, I will share, because I've been to 4 or 5 different cities working COVID, I kind of was on the fence a little bit. I'm just like, whatever, just give it to me, I took the vaccine, but that was my situation. But my situation isn't Kay's situation or Juan's situation. Everybody has the right to make their own decision, and they shouldn't be discriminated against.
And that's that's what it is. I'm not going to think less of you because you felt that was the right thing for you. That was your decision, and that's what this country is all about. That's your decision, your body, and
exactly.
And I'm not going to. It's so frustrating. That's the thing. I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you got it. And you know what I mean? It's just like freedom of choice. And that's what is so wrong right now, is that's being completely ripped away from Americans.
Absolutely. Seeing all these healthcare workers that took an oath, they have the oath of, doing what's in the best interest of the patient or maybe the public, to see them turn around and say, oh, they shouldn't be in healthcare, and be so arrogant over results that we don't have results yet. I think other vaccines it took a few decades to be able to work out these bugs, but to take something and say, and be so arrogant and high and mighty about it and say, protect the patient, this is what works. And like, it's a pretty far reach. And I don't get it.
It is. Oh, Brandon, I saw the best meme the other day, and it was basically it's about masks because now in Oregon we have to wear masks, and it said basically I'm going to start slapping cheeseburgers out of your hands to protect you if I'm wearing a mask. You know what I mean? It's like the whole nonsense of I'm protecting you by wearing this mask. So they're like, I'm going to start slapping cheeseburgers out of your hands when I see you get McDonald's or something. And I'm like, it's so true. Or take your, I'm going to take my vitamins so that you can feel healthier today or whatever. I mean, these memes are hysterical because it doesn't make any sense, yet that's what they're mandating. All right, let's see what we have here. Because Big Pharma. Yeah, Big Pharma needs to make their money. I know that one was a little hard to read, but it's crazy. It's crazy. Big Pharma does need to make their money. That's why when you say like you haven't seen hydroxychloroquine or the what was the ivermectin being prescribed, it's because it's already been out and it works and it's effective. I mean, I believe ivermectin, it was originally for pets, for animals, I believe, and it's not FDA approved, but it's been known to work. So it's just, Big Pharma. That's everything tracks back to the almighty dollar. Everything. Like my husband likes to go, why the hell? I was like, don't even say why. Like, it's money, it's power. That's why. I missed somebody's pop.
Right. And it's so unfortunate because, high blood pressure or diabetes just ravage this nation. I think it's said probably 1 out of 4 people is diabetic now in the United States. It's a crazy number, and a certain percentage don't even know they're diabetic. Yet here we go, building fast food after fast food, and we're not shutting down fast food places. We're not putting any restrictions on them. I mean, exactly. It might suck to have a whole bunch of those shut down, but hey, why can't? Yeah, they just seem to be talking out both sides of their mouth when what they,
absolutely
mandated.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, Brandon, I'm so happy that you're on, or in my neck of the woods, somewhat, 4-hour drive at this point in time. Juan, can we pull up the picture? We met for lunch, actually more recent than this image, but we were able to grab pizza. There we go. That was what, 2 months ago?
That was fun. Early June. Yeah, 2 months ago.
Yeah, early June.
That was a lot of fun.
That was, and Brandon's like family to me. I had my dad and my daughters. Wow, my son would really appreciate that. My dad and my kids have one of each. Whoops, with me, and so that was really cool to be able to meet Brandon because obviously Washington State a lot closer than Arizona, so it's cool that you're so close. And I appreciate you coming on. I'm so glad we were able to make it happen. And again, Juan's putting that up there for anyone that's interested in. You can talk to the American Frontline doctors. You can also get COVID tests where you can test at home. And the reason why I've done a home test, the reason why I do that is I don't want to be in their system. So anyways, they do that as well. So it's nice to have that. But Brandon, thank you so much for coming on. And is there anything that you would like to share with the audience before you go? Is there anything that you want to share with the audience? Any last words, if you will?
You know what? As I said, with this whole COVID-19 thing, we're finding out more and more every few months. I'm pro-choice. I don't make any judgments, so people should be able to make their own choice. And kind of hold my breath with whatever other COVID flare-up is going on. So just stay as healthy as you can, get exercise, and eat healthy. And that's about it for now. But thank you so much for having me on. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much. You're great. And thank you for speaking the truth and taking the time to do this today. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely, KSOK, for sure.
All right. You almost said my name. You're so good. You're so good. All right. You have a great night, Brandon, and we'll talk soon.
Yep, you too, Kay. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye. Hey guys, thank you so much. It was really fun today. We were able to connect live before the show and then to be able to come on and have one of my dear friends on here talking about his experience. Really cool. And thank you for your participation as always. And like I was saying, check out That America. I'm not, they haven't hired me to talk about them. I just believe in stuff. And so when I do, I want to share it with you. Drew said, great seeing you, Brandon. And Spy Dam says, right, we should have the right to make that decision. That's what it's all about, you guys. It's like the ability to think for ourselves. And that's what is missing right now. So haven't gotten the flu shot since 1985. Haven't been sick. Definitely not getting the government purge shot. Yeah, and that again, it's always about the money. Absolutely, it's about money and power and freedom of choice. So we need to fight for that. Like I said, feet on the streets. We need to get out there. Let's quit bitching and get into action. Gather patriots and go out there with signs and find local rallies and events and attend them and make a difference. Be seen. Let's not be silent majority anymore. I'm so sick of that. If you're part of the silent majority, that's puss talk for me. But good. Kevin said, oh, sorry, Kevin. Brandon was great. So anyways, you are, Brandon. Thank you so much. You guys, don't forget to hang on after me. We have the loaded mic. And you guys, I'll have to tell you what, because it came on right after me last week, that was a great move by Juan to play after me because I stayed on for that full bit. And I really enjoyed the banter that we have with oh gosh, I can't remember his name. So sorry. But anyways, the loaded mic, Mike Wos, Dan Wos, and his son Danny Jr. produces it. Sorry, guys. But anyways, I really enjoyed the banter. They were really funny and just a great show. So stick by so we can play that for you. And then we also have an announcement. So Savvy, with the Savvy Truth, there's an announcement coming up about what Right America Media is going to be doing concerning events coming up, and I will be attending one, likely the one in Texas. And so, and that's in November. So I'll let you guys know closer to that date. But again, thank you so much for just hanging in there with me today. I know it was a longer show, and for your participation. And thank you for supporting Right America Media. And I'll see you next Thursday.
Hey y'all, it's Savannah from the Savvy Truth with Liberty and Justice, and we're just here to tell you guys, if you love America and everything that America stands for, then I'm here to tell you guys that you guys should all check out Clay Clark's new Reawaken America tour. It will be coming to Michigan in August, to Colorado Springs in September, and San Antonio in November. I will be there, and I expect every single one of you guys to be there too. And if you want more information about this spectacular patriotic event, you can go to thrivetimeshow.com. And if you want to buy tickets, go text 918-851-0102 and say that Right American Media sent you for 10% off. And don't forget to go support your American-made businesses like Mike Lindell's My Pillow. And you can use code RAM, R-A-M. I hope to see every single one of you guys there. Remember, Clay Clark's Reawaken America tour from Savannah at the Savvy Truth and Liberty and Justice. All right, guys. Mwah.
The real causes of human violence, critical race theory, and Trump at the border. This is the Loaded Mic, and I'm Dan Wos.
You're listening to the Loaded Mic.
I want to let you in on a little secret. There's no such thing as gun violence. Now, I know it almost sounds crazy to say such a thing, but why is that? Why we know that guns aren't violent. We know that guns don't cause violent behavior in human beings. We understand that gun violence, so-called gun violence, actually doesn't exist. And what we're really talking about is violent behavior from human beings that's blamed on guns for the purpose of creating fear and garnering support for more gun regulations. Now, we know that what we're really talking about is human violence. But why is it such a crazy thing to say? Why does it sound so strange to make the accusation that there's no such thing as gun violence? It's because a narrative has already been created while we weren't paying attention. So while we've been concerned with defending our rights against unconstitutional firearm restrictions, the political left and the gun grabbers have been working on shaping public opinion about guns. They were working on conditioning people to fear guns and hate gun owners. They were creating a fear around guns that caused people who didn't know any better to stay away and not learn about firearms. But they're also teaching those who don't know any better to hate gun owners. They were taught that gun owners were intentionally and recklessly putting everyone in danger by supporting gun rights. So how do they shape public opinion? Well, let's take, for instance, any time there's a violent attack where a gun is used, what's the first thing we see on the evening news? We see that AR-15 roll across the TV screen and a panel of people who all agree that guns should be banned commenting on the topic. We hear the cries for justice. We hear the righteous indignation. We hear the pleas for government to just do something to stop this, you guessed it, gun violence. We watch them stand on the graves of dead people to push the narrative. But what's interesting is we never hear suggestions of what we can do to stop human violence. In other words, what caused a person to take a violent behavior against other people? The reason we never hear about the actual causes of human violence is because it often reflects poorly on failed government policy. We could be talking about gang violence, open borders, sanctuary cities, welfare dependency, drugs, manufactured racial division, the devaluing of human life through things like the normalization of abortion, and the deadly gun-free zones where people are systematically disarmed and rendered helpless. You see, if we actually talked about the real causes of human violence, we'd be forced to shine a light on failed government policies. We'd be forced to expose the very people who are working hard to disarm American citizens. So today on The Loaded Mic, we're going to do what many people don't do. We're going to discuss the real causes of violence. And I'm here with John Chiara. John,
wow,
how are you?
Good. Great. I'm excited now.
Good. All right. Well, so that's what I wanted to basically touch on today is, what are some of the real causes of violence? If we chunk it down, if we go down the reason, take, like, for instance, take a killing and let's bring it down to what the actual cause is, rather than just focusing on the gun like they like to do. Let's talk about some of the reasons people do it. And
Racism.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Well, that would be an answer that somebody would probably give, right? That they would say, well, that's the reason why half this stuff happens. It's hard, and these are the kind of discussions that we don't often hear, right? We don't hear people debating these kind of issues, like what is the actual cause and effect here, and asking the question, can you fix that?
Right.
I think a lot on the left never asked, well, can we actually have an effect here, or are we just going to do something because it feels like the right thing to do? I think that's a big part of it, because public, opinion gets thrown into the mix right off the bat, appeals to emotion and stuff. But there's all kinds of reasons, I assume, why people, a lot of violence is domestic violence, I would assume, right? Family stuff.
It's a portion of it. That's true. A lot of the stuff happens in the home. But the thing is, we have just over a million violent acts reported every year.
Right.
So what's causing these? Guns?
No.
Is it because right?
That doesn't make any sense.
Is it because
take anything and put it in there, and it makes as much sense as that?
Well, that's like saying, if cars are the cause of people getting in.
Right.
You could even go as far as saying cars are not the cause of people getting in car accidents, right? It's the people. They're using a car, yes, they're driving around,
right?
But they need to use transportation. So we're gonna always have cars. So we could blame accidents on the car, but we don't. Why? I mean, what we do is
you can't take people's cars away, or they're going to freak out. Right?
That's true too.
They don't mind. The people that think that way and don't have guns are looking at the gun issue the same way. We'll just take guns away. That'll fix that problem.
Well, the thing is, we don't. If there's a car accident, let's say you violate a traffic law, or let's say you're drinking and driving, and you kill somebody. do all cars get regulated?
Got nothing to do with it, right? Not at all.
No, the person who is driving the car
Right.
gets regulated or gets restricted. That's why I always use the argument. Why don't we have, if the gun restrictions, if we related it to car restrictions, why don't we have alcohol breathalyzers
in every
ignitions
car.
on
Nobody
every
can
car.
drive a car until they blow on their breathalyzer.
Right. Why don't we have that? Because people be going bananas.
Well, and because statistically, it makes no freaking sense.
stupid.
It would cost a fortune and would accomplish almost nothing, which is what a lot of these, the basis, the way we look at a lot of these plans that we see coming from the other side, it's going to cost a fortune, it's going to do almost nothing or make things worse. And while doing that, it's going to infringe on the rights of all the law-abiding citizens that are already obeying the law.
Well, I mean, with something like that, with the car breathalyzer ignitions, I can think of many reasons how it could put people in danger. I mean, what if somebody you can't use somebody's car and you need to rush them in a hospital, but you're at a barbecue and you had 2 beers, and somebody needs to go to the hospital and they can't,
Right?
And you still need to. You're under the. You might be under the limit or whatever, but you still can't use it or whatever. And just are people going to be able to disconnect the breathalyzer and stuff and get around it? And so there's all sorts of things. But so violence. Let's get back to human violence. So why? Let's talk about gang violence, because gang violence is always pretty colorful and interesting. First of all, what causes people to join gangs?
Bad families.
Okay. Probably bad upbringing, bad family modeling.
Right. Well, kids are looking for role models in some way, right? And that's where they find them. That's part of the whole hook of that.
So if we don't even have to assume that that's the entire reason why people, but that can be one reason.
Sure.
So let's assume that that's one reason people are joining gangs and going out and ultimately end up killing other gangs and killing people in the street and doing drive-bys and whatever they do for whatever initiation they need to get.
All the stuff, all the violence that we almost never hear about, right? Because
Yeah.
it happens every day and we never hear
Exactly.
about it.
So let's break that down. Let's say that one of the reasons is bad upbringing, bad family. Is it fair to talk about fatherless homes? Could that be?
If you're qualifying it as a cause, yeah, I think it is. I don't know. I mean, and again, this is the kind of thing where I think it might make sense to talk about fatherless homes in terms of strategy. Like, how do we make these things better? What can we teach our children to make them have stronger families in the future, right?
Yeah.
This is, again, goes back to the whole critical race theory nonsense where let's teach everybody they're either oppressed or they're the oppressors, and that'll make them have good families going into the future. We need positive strategies in all these ways, I think. But anybody, well, all right, you're a business person, all right? Most of our friends are business people in some way or shape or form. Their whole idea is like, let's figure out a way to strategize to make things better so I can prosper into the future, right? That is what we should be teaching anybody who needs that, I think. And most of any of the stuff based on blaming other people or blaming guns or blaming whatever, blaming society, blaming racism, none of that moves in that direction. So I just see those all as dead-end policies. They're just looking to blame people. But the gun thing is the worst in a lot of ways, I think, because what it does is that if you follow those tenets, you take away the individual's right to protect themselves when they might need to be able to protect themselves. That mindset is completely backwards to me, and I can never get anybody to explain to me how that makes sense. If you wanted to protect your family, you would want to be able to do it, correct? Correct. Okay. So why do you want to take this person's ability to protect their family away from them? It's upside down. It's backwards.
Let's talk about that. I think that instantly goes, at least from my perspective, it instantly goes from fatherless homes to welfare, to fathers out of the home due to welfare dependency, because the way the welfare system is set up is that the woman gets more money if there's no father in the house.
Right.
And the woman also gets additional money for every child. So you got a system here that's rewarding
Right.
bad parenting.
Right.
It's
an incentive to do what we already know is the wrong thing.
Right. So now you got these kids growing up in this environment, typically lower income, areas or environments. And what are they doing? They don't have a father to kick their ass and tell them, no, don't do this, do this. They don't have anybody with a good sense of how to act in the world to teach them.
Right.
And in many cases, not all, but in many cases, when they do have a father in the home, that's a person that's already involved in bad behavior to begin with.
So nobody to teach them good strategy. That's the thing.
So you don't have a father necessarily taking you out fishing and teaching you how to change a tire on a car, teaching you skills in life, and teaching you how to treat women. Because a lot of times the kids will learn how to treat women by the way the father treats the mother.
Right, exactly. They mimic, they watch them, and that's what they learn.
Exactly. So you don't have that. So now the question is, okay, so since we know this, if you and I can be talking about this stuff, don't you think other people are thinking about it? Don't you think government has a clue that maybe this fatherless home welfare dependency system is not working?
I think.
I mean,
I would think.
They can't be blind to it, right?
But like so many other things, the common sense view of something doesn't fit the narrative, so we never get to talk about it, right? You can't even talk about it a lot of times. They won't let you talk about it, which is the whole other theme of how everything's being censored.
Yeah, like it's racist to talk about maybe welfare dependency, or they can make it so people don't even want to talk about this stuff when it's clear that it's a problem. Traditional. I always talk about traditional American values. I loved it. Watch those old shows like you talk about.
Westerns and stuff are crazy. Dude.
I like every once in a while I watch Andy Griffith and stuff, and you see that old hometown traditional value.
It's all Judeo-Christian values. That's what it is, and this is why when people start saying all the negative things about, the church is bad and this is bad and that's bad, and but that gave us all the good things we have came from those values. Everything,
and it encourages a work value, and it encourages being respectful to other people.
It encourages humility, which is missing from almost all these things we talk about.
So when you take that stuff out, what I call traditional American values, you take it out of the equation. You take the father out of the equation. And if you do have a father in a lot of these situations, they don't have those values to begin with anyway, because now we're talking 3-4 generations deep.
Right.
We have 3 to 4 generations right now in the welfare system. Mm-hmm. How are they going to learn traditional values that are productive values if they can't, if their parents and grandparents never knew it?
Well, they're not going to. And the part of it, the perspective is that they're going to learn something. There's a vacuum there. Kids grow up, they learn stuff. That's how it is. They pick up all their cues for life based on their environment. So if they're in a bad environment from birth, they have no chance. This is why education is really the only chance that these people have. Kids. And when you have agendas running the education system, then you're lost in the sauce. The critical race theory again comes up. Let's teach everybody they're either victimizer or they're a victim. That's all there is. There's the person doing the bad thing, and there's the person suffering from the bad thing. Okay, well, where did your cell phone come from? It didn't come from that equation.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is bad strategy over and over and over again. It's a bad way to look at things because it doesn't take us anyplace. And for people that need guidance, it's even worse. If you come from a strong family, at least you got a fighting chance of being able to look around and say, well, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to do that, and that's not going to pay off in the end. So let's do these good things that are proven to work. But if you don't have that, what do you do? Join a gang?
Well, that's what I was getting to, and that's exactly what the point was. You could, you can watch these old shows, for instance, like Andy Griffith. And what was the show that you said you watched?
Tons. Rifleman. Father Knows Best. Father
Knows Best. I've never actually even seen it, but okay. So let's say that, And you could watch those shows, and some people might say, "Oh, this is stupid. This isn't the way the world is," and stuff. But it could be.
It's all good stuff.
It's good.
They don't want to see.
Yeah.
See, isn't that a strange perception, though?
Yeah.
Well, if you're not showing all the bad stuff and you're just showing the good stuff, then that's not the truth. Okay, well, Santa Claus isn't the truth either, but you want to throw that out? You know what I mean? Do you, especially with kids, I mean, they need to be nurtured in ways that teach them these are the good things that you do. You do things for other people. You help people. You don't hurt people. You don't torture animals. You don't do stuff like that.
Oh, that really bothers me when I see that stuff. But so they don't have this stuff. They're taught to denounce it when they do see it because it's somehow stupid or whatever. And what do? What you said, they resort to gang violence.
It fills the gap.
I'm not even blaming them for it.
No, it fills the gap completely. It does exactly what a strong household would do. It does what a good community would do. They have everything they need within the gang, I guess.
So this is how. So we just talked. So we went through kind of a spectrum of, taking the term gun violence and really saying, no, it's not about guns, it's about human violence. And we took one component and we talked about fatherless homes, welfare dependency, and that sort of thing as a potential cause of the problem. And now we're getting down to the gang violence piece, which is how. So we're following a trail now to figure out what the actual causes of violence here. That was my goal for today. I wanted to at least try to take a couple of these things and chunk them down. Right. So right now we're at a point where we're looking at kids joining gangs because they're looking for something. And it's all due to this welfare dependency. Or it's not all due. It's
due to the fatherless homes. I mean, I don't think many kids in gangs have
fatherless homes.
Fathers at home, right?
So what I'm trying to get to is the cause of the fatherless home. And in my perception, it looks to me like the cause of the fatherless home is directly related to welfare dependency, because the welfare system seems to be created to create the fatherless home.
Or at least support it. Well, it plays to both sides. It plays to the mother's side, where they normally want to nurture and take care of their children.
Okay.
And it plays to the father's side, where if he hasn't been held responsible his whole life, he doesn't want to start being responsible now. Right. So it all works out for everybody, and it goes on and on and on.
So is it safe to say that that welfare dependency is a cause of human violence?
It would seem. I don't know what the statistics are, but again, I don't know. I don't think a lot of kids in gangs are from normal homes, right? They're not from two-parent homes, probably.
Even just saying that sounds uncomfortable to say it,
and
right?
We're uncomfortable saying it because we know he's going to say you're a racist, and this. I don't know what the deal.
Well, I'm going to come out and say it.
It's not good. We know that, right?
I'm going to make the accusation
Dan's
that
on it here. Look out.
Welfare dependency is a direct cause of human violence. I'm going to say it. Okay. So why? Why do we have welfare dependency when people are physically capable? There's a difference between people who are handicapped, can't work, can't do whatever, mentally disabled or whatever. There's a difference between those people and a lot of people that are on a welfare system that are physically capable and mentally capable of working.
We see a little microcosm of that right now with the unemployment situation. Lots of people not going to work.
Not going back to work.
It's human nature, right? And,
because the incentive is to stay, getting
they're
free.
Playing right to your normal strengths. That's what you will choose to do. If I mean, it's logical to assume that, because we know that's how human beings will react in a lot of those situations. I mean, if you offer to take care of somebody, a lot of people are going to say, okay, take care of me. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not, because it's not hindering, because they don't have a strategy that isn't hindering them. It's just keeping them where they are. If it's like you or me or somebody else that's trying to get businesses going and starting new projects, that doesn't help that, because we need to move forward. We need to connect with people.
Right. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just had this thought. Because that's our interest. That's what we're interested in.
Right.
That's more important to us. That's higher of a value to us.
Well, that's not an employee strategy. That's why it's an employer strategy or a business owner strategy. Which again, everybody makes that evil all the time, but everything we have comes from somebody's business. You know? They didn't just pop up. The government didn't make this table. You know, didn't make the microphones. Didn't do anything.
And that might be part of it, making it, bad,
demonizing everything.
Demonizing the good stuff, so people will be less inclined to want to do what we do. Look at, we got this studio. We have this show. We have things that didn't just fall in our lap,
and it's costing us money. Basically.
It costs money.
It costs you money. It costs me money.
It costs money, but this stuff doesn't fall in your lap.
Right, but in order to build, you have to have that kind of strategy going on. And
right.
When you implement programs that stifle that strategy or make it impossible to teach those kinds of strategies, you end up with just what we have. All these problems that we're looking at and going, what's the cause of that? And it's hard for us to understand what that is because we don't think that way. We're not looking for that as a future. But again, I think a lot of these people, a lot of the government programs, they're not really made to help people with their future. They're just made to keep them content in the moment, and that's what plays.
Okay, why would they want to do that when they know that they can actually do the other? When they know that they could create programs to incentivize people to go start their own business?
Because the basic human nature is not to strategize into the future; it's to be safe and comfortable. That's basic survival.
But if you can be taught and kind of conditioned to take on that mindset to go be a starter, go be an entrepreneur, whatever, why wouldn't the government encourage that rather than what they do encourage is what you said is keeping them content? Why would the government choose to keep people content rather than give them skills to grow?
I think part of it is because they never want another Republican to win an election ever, and if they keep those people happy, then they're just gonna. It's a satiation situation,
and it's creating a dependency,
big time, and it grows. It doesn't go away. But that's why the teachers' union thing is such the sinister thing, is because we need to teach kids how to move to the future and prosper. If there's things that are not doing that, I don't think that should be stuff that we should be concentrating on. Like critical race theory. How is that making the future better for anybody? It's making some kids feel guilty, other kids feel oppressed. Is that part of some Tony Robbins book or something? What is that?
No, it doesn't help.
This way.
And I definitely want to get to that. It doesn't help. I know you want to talk about critical race theory, but let me just make the connection here. Let me try to make this connection in bullet points because we talk about not gun violence, human violence. What causes human violence? Fatherless homes, what we talked about with kids joining gangs. When we specifically look at the gang-related stuff, what causes that? Fatherless home. We talk about a welfare dependency system where people are encouraged to stay complacent and get paid and not be productive. Right. Okay, and then you said it. You said the critical thing that I wanted to hit on, because we'll never have Republicans in office again because Democrats.
That's the plan.
Democrats can play off of this welfare dependency and keep people dependent as long as possible. Because who are they going to vote for if the Democrats are there where they're handing out money?
And open the borders.
Open the border.
Let's go.
Create a dependent United States. Create welfare, gangs, violence, and all this stuff. And then the government will come in and give you. The Democratic side of the government will come in and hand out money. I think you nailed it. So we took human violence. We eliminated the notion of gun violence. That's stupid. I can't believe we even talk about that nonsense. It's a stupid idea to talk about gun violence. It doesn't exist. What we're talking about is human violence. We're talking about a welfare system. We're talking about human dependency. We're talking about government dependency. Right. And we're talking about handouts, and we're talking about people who go out in the streets now and have no morals and no values, and they're hurting people, and they're killing people.
all under the guise of the government saying that they're helping people. That's what we're creating.
You're right, exactly, and all under the blame of, well, we can tie this to guns. We can blame guns for this, so we can create more gun restrictions because of the bad policy that we.
It's right. It's just bad thinking.
That's just one. That's just one of the many things that I wanted to hit on, and now we're up against a break, and we didn't even talk about abortion and the devaluing of human life through that whole concept. We're going to definitely get to your critical race theory. I definitely want to hit on that, but when we have more time, because I know it's going to be a long conversation. So we're out of time in this segment, but coming up after the break, I want to talk about Biden and his border. We got some Trump clips that are really great. We got Governor Abbott from Texas, and we're going to talk about critical race theory. So right after this, we'll be right back.
I'm Dan Wos Jr., producer of The Loaded Mic. I just wanted to let you know that you can find us at Simul TV, Right America Media, YouTube, and Rumble. You can also find the podcast at Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. Or you can go to loadedmic.com. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a review.
By now, you've heard me talk about MyPillow and how it literally changed my life. They won't go flat. You can wash and dry them as many times as you want, and they maintain their shape. They're made in the USA, and for a limited time, Mike is offering his premium MyPillows for his lowest price ever. You can get a queen-size premium MyPillow for just $29.98, regularly $69.98. It's a $40 savings, and kings are only $5 more. So go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listeners square, and use the promo code RAM, like RAM. You'll also get deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the Giza Dream Sheets, the MyPillow mattress topper, MyPillow towel sets. You can also call 800-867-0416. That's 800-867-0416. But don't forget to use that promo code RAM.
The Second Amendment is a priority at the Loaded Mic. If we don't defend the right to keep and bear arms, there are people who are happy to violate it. The strategies and tactics of the anti-gun crowd and politicians are sinister, and we need to understand those tactics. I wrote the Good Gun, Bad Guy book series as the rule book to their evil game, so we can understand their strategies and motives to defeat them. Understand the mindset of the anti-gunner in Book 1. Learn the media strategies behind the gun grab in Book 2. And understand the politics behind their mission in Book 3. Go to goodgunbadguy.com.
People don't know what we talk about on the breaks. But Danny Wos Jr. hit on something about Martin Luther King, which was interesting, how the photos of him are usually in black and white. And they had every availability of doing color back then. So it's like, what is that all about? Are they
moon pictures were in color? Like,
are they trying to devalue what he did by doing that? Are they trying to make it look like it's ancient history?
Right, that's probably more the case.
Well, that brings me to what you were just talking about. You just pulled up that article, and we talked about critical race theory. And how they, the lefties want to look at history in an honest way, quote, honest way, right? So I wanted to bring you into this topic and let you run with it because I know you got plenty to say.
Plenty.
Hit it.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about
race theory.
Well, let's hit on that one article about how they want people to learn the truth about history.
Right. It's 4th of July. To really honor the country, we have to teach the true history of the country. And I'm like,
well, you know what it means. It's more racist, more slavery and stuff. They want to,
of course.
Yeah, they need.
But the thing about
because we can't enjoy our independence today on 4th of July, right? On 4th of July, we can't enjoy our independence. We have to be
psychologically burdened and pummeled with slavery that happened how many years ago?
150, 200.
150. And so we can't enjoy the freedoms that we have because we have to constantly listen to leftists perpetuate and permeate our conversations with slavery and racism, guilt and punishment and all this stuff.
So I have questions about a lot of stuff. Like
Go ahead.
if you're perpetually teaching guilt in every context, what success model is that part of? What strategy is that? It's all about, if you want to help kids, you got to teach them strategies on how to get through life, right? That's
self-productive.
All kinds of stuff, right? So education is supposed to be for the benefit of those being educated. In order to understand what that might be, you have to be able to do things that I think many on the left are incapable of. One is running a timeline into the future. They're really good at looking into the past and finding all the bad things that must be responsible for all the things that they're not happy about.
Or changing the good things or changing stuff so people don't have the data to go back and look at.
I can't say the name of the drug because we're not going to get canceled anyway, right?
I don't give a
Ivermectin. All Brett Weinstein's page being demonetized by YouTube. You can't find videos of people saying things that they said a couple years ago. Just arbitrarily, the algorithms are taking things down and not giving us access to information. So basically, what that does, that takes the argument that we're hearing about you have to teach the truth, and throws that right out the window because it's only selective truth.
Right.
It's only truth that goes along with the narrative that somebody else is saying is the right narrative. Because you can't say the wrong thing or they'll cancel you. They took President Trump off of Twitter. Let's take the president off of the biggest platform in the world. That'll be good. That makes sense. So that's the point. But the education aspect of it is what really matters because it's not about me feeling good about what the teachers are teaching. It's about what results the kids are going to get out of what they're teaching. So we have to take this emotional guilt, whatever everybody's being programmed into, and we have to get rid of that. And I would just classify that as a bad strategy. That doesn't work. Let's not do that. You can't show me how cause and effect wise that's going to lead to something good.
Well, I would agree it is a bad strategy and it won't lead to anything good, but it does support their agenda.
Right. No Republicans forever and ever. That's what a report. Right?
No Republicans forever and ever. That's what they want. So how does that relate to what's going on specifically with the critical race theory stuff?
I just can't ever get an answer from anybody. Critical race theory basically teaches division based on you being an oppressor or based on you being oppressed by virtue of the color of your skin. Sounds like racism to me. So, and there was I heard some quotes the other day from a guy who wrote a book a couple years ago, and it was like the only way to get out of this oppression is to have opposite oppression. The only way to fix the past is to oppress the opposite in the present. And the only way to affect the future is to oppress the opposite of the present. So it's all pushing back on all these things that don't go anywhere anyway. If this was like, if you were complaining about teaching kids how to build cars or something because you thought cars were evil, or if you don't want your kid to go into the gun industry because you think guns are evil, that's fine for a parent to say that to somebody. I don't want the government telling people that,
right?
Because you know what's going to happen. Because you can run a timeline, and I can run a timeline. But if you can't look into the future and see what's going to happen, you can see that's going to spill over into all kinds of other things and have all kinds of unintended consequences and just screw up everything as far as the business go. Stupid things like being able to sue the gun companies because somebody uses a gun to shoot somebody. That kind of stuff. Who thinks of that? You don't sue the car companies because somebody kills somebody with your car. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. But there's specifically with the gun manufacturers in Biden. That's been a big push of Biden. He wants people to be able to sue gun manufacturers to basically, put them out of business.
Right.
So what they're trying to do is cut the head off the snake with respect to this, with respect to gun ownership. And they think that because they can't
take the Second Amendment, which I want to get into in a little while here. I want to read the Second Amendment for everybody, but they can't do anything about the Second Amendment, so they have to go around and they have to find other ways to eliminate guns, because they obviously can't have citizens having guns because they somehow in the government think that they are the ultimate power in this country. They're not. We the people are. So, but anyway, so that's a good
Right.
point. So why would you do that? Well, there's a very specific reason why you would want gun manufacturers to be sued, to put them out of business, stop manufacturing.
Nobody else in the world's making guns, I guess, right?
Right.
But then you can pass laws that you can't import guns, and nobody will have a gun. Except
Right,
for the
exactly.
400 million that are already here. What are you going to do with them? Take them away from people, I guess, right?
Exactly. And speaking of Biden and guns, let's move on to this. Did we hear, and I'm sure Danny's got a clip, Biden talking about people having guns not being able to efficiently fight the government because the government has F-15s and nuclear weapons.
Sending them right to your house.
Yeah. So here you have the president of the country, the president of America, telling you, no, you don't have nearly enough power to stop us.
But we still need to take your pistol away from it.
But right. So we still need to take your pistol. So I want to play this clip and then we can talk about it. Go ahead, Danny. Let's watch this. Go ahead.
Enough rogue gun dealers feel like they can get away with selling guns to people who aren't legally allowed to own them. And I might add, the Second Amendment from the day it was passed limited the type of people who could own a gun and what type of weapon you could own. You couldn't buy a cannon. Those who say the blood of patriots, and all the stuff about how we're going to have to move against the government. Well, the tree of liberty is not water with the blood of patriots. What's happened is that there never been, if you wanted to think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons. The point is that there's always been the ability to rationally limit the type of weapon that can be owned and who can own it.
Oh my God. What he's saying there is there's always been the ability to ration. Did he use the word ration? I want to be clear. Anyway, to limit anyway the ability of what people can own. And no, that's not true. He's lying. And he talks about also, I got some notes here, so I'm going to refer to these notes, but he also talks about cannons. You can't own a cannon. Yeah, actually you could. The Revolutionary War, cannons were privately owned.
Right.
Right? So he's lying to people who don't know any better and who want desperately to believe him because they're Democrats. And hopefully maybe in his net of lies, he'll catch some people who would be Republican voters or who would be, who would be more supportive of gun restrictions. Anyway, he goes on to say, well, first of all, I want to read the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state,
right.
The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay?
Right.
That's what the Second Amendment says. So when we look at that, we talk about the well-regulated militia. Now, the militia was the people's militia. It was the people's army. Right. It was the people. And being necessary. This is the most important line that I think is important in the Second Amendment that people don't always talk about. They always talk about the shall not be infringed, and that's important. But being necessary to secure a free state.
Right.
That's important because being necessary to secure a free state means that the people are able to stop tyrants like Joe Biden.
Right.
And he doesn't like that idea because he went on to say things like, I had some notes here. That they limited the type of weaponry. No, they didn't. They didn't limit, and government had nothing to say about it.
Right.
And he says, ever since that was passed, talking about gun ownership, talking about the Second Amendment, talking about a right,
The Second Amendment was never passed. Laws are passed.
Right.
The Second Amendment's not a law.
It's ratified into the Constitution. That's part
right.
of the,
it was ratified. And it's not, a law is a limitation on what people can do with at the risk of punishment.
Limits your privileges, basically.
Right. Exactly. A right is, the Bill of Rights was created to identify the rights of the people and limit and recognize the limitation the government has. Right. Joe Biden is taking that, twisting it around, and saying ever since it was passed, as if it's a law, as if it's related to some sort of law.
It's a misunderstanding. It's not correct. You're right. I mean, plus, the fact that if you're going to have a well-regulated militia, you have to have people that have guns to join the militia. Right. You got to have that first. That's where the militia comes from. The people that have guns that are joining up to protect the free state. And I think even then, the state is referring to states, not just the country. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's individual, because
individual
it's the United
states.
States of America.
Right.
That was the whole that's why this country's different than all of the countries.
It was individual states.
Right.
Right. So each state has the same freedoms or the same ability to govern themselves as if they were France or Germany or whatever. So the states have, in the United States, have an individual ability to function outside, with their own rules and regulations or their own ideals. So Biden went on to talk about a quote from Thomas Jefferson, when Thomas Jefferson said, and Biden didn't get it right. So I went and I looked it up to just make sure it's right. Thomas Jefferson said, "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants," meaning that when you go they knew back then, when you go a certain distance, you're going to end up getting people like Joe Biden and Obama, Hillary Clinton, Dianne Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. After a while, you're gonna get these people, all the AOCs and all
the squad, all that stuff. How does that exist?
How did that happen in this country? How did we allow these people with these horrible Middle Eastern values coming into our country and trying to tell us how to live? How did we allow that? I certainly didn't vote for it. Somebody's voting for it.
Yeah, that's weird.
So when Thomas Jefferson says the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with blood of patriots and tyrants, I think what he's referring to is that at a certain point there will be another uprising.
Right.
And we don't want that, of course, but it's almost inevitable watching Joe Biden and listening to the things he's talking about, how you people don't have the power to do anything about your government because we are much more powerful than you. We have F-15s and we have nuclear weapons.
Let's threaten the citizens.
So they're coming out now. Democrats are coming out and showing you the power that they have taken from us. Thoughts?
I agree.
Okay, end the show. That's it. So, okay. So I just wanted to...
It's kind of insulting, really, right? I mean,
I would
that
say.
speech was... I'm looking at him going, okay, he's talking about this and that. I said, obviously, then why is he worried about some guy with a freaking hat on walking into the Capitol thinking he's going to take over the United States government?
Why is he worried about a MAGA hat?
Right.
Why are they worried about MAGA hats coming into the Capitol?
What on January 6th? What do you think was going to happen? People are going to go in the Capitol and take over the country? What do you think is going to happen?
Right.
They didn't have any F-15s or they didn't have hand grenades or anything. You know what are you going to do? It's all double standard. Everything is a double standard. And when you bring that up, then you're just a bad guy because, of course, if you think it's double standard, then you're...
Well, I think it's important that people recognize when people like Joe Biden say things like he said, that F-15 and nuclear weapons comment, that they're revealing what they think about you and what they think about their position and what they think about their power. They shouldn't have any power.
But he's telling you that he's got power. And he's telling you that you don't have a chance in defeating that power because he's got control of F-15s and nuclear weapons. So it's not, this has been going around and around on the internet, and people have been talking about it and getting pissed off and whatever. But I think the most important piece is that we understand why he said that and what is actually going on in the thought process in his head to come out and say something like that.
And wonder what Putin's thinking when he watches a speech like that. Talk about people laughing at people. Again, it's just it doesn't go anywhere. It just makes people guilty. It's almost like it's designed to make us all feel bad all the time. And I don't know where that's supposed to go. I don't like being, depressed or feeling like I did something wrong. It's like they're treating us like little kids.
Yeah.
Oh, you're bad. Go stand in the corner.
Right.
You can't have a gun. Go stand in the corner.
Yeah.
Counterproductive.
And it makes it even worse with Biden that he's such an utter failure at everything. Maybe not a failure with what they want to accomplish, but a failure to upholding American values and helping America prosper, because we talk about the border. So Trump had the border going. I'm like, yeah, keep building that sucker. Keep going. You're almost there. And the wall, I said the border, I meant the wall. And the wall was stopping illegal,
of course,
trafficking. And I'm going to talk about the fentanyl that's coming over. I'm going to talk about all this stuff. But first, I want to talk briefly about how Trump goes to the wall and talks with the governor of Texas, Governor Abbott. And they are talking about what they have to do. They're being forced to do this now. Texas is allotting X amount of dollars. And I think, let me find the number. Here. I got that. Texas is allotting $1.25 billion to move forward with the border wall. But here's a little clip of President Trump and his opinion of what's going on and how Biden is handling it. Go ahead, Danny. Let's play that.
Well, there has never been a better time 6 months ago, and there's never been a worse time. We had the tightest security. You could come into our country legally, but you know what else we were stopping? Massive amounts of drugs, human traffickers, bad people, criminals. They're emptying their jails into our country. Other countries are emptying their jails into our country. We never had it better, and now we've never had it worse in the history of our country.
So they're emptying their jails into our country. That's quite a visual. And not only that, but the drugs that are coming in. I'll give you a couple more statistics here. And I'm looking at the time too. There has been a 2,000% increase in fentanyl coming over the border. Now, 2 milligrams of this stuff is deadly. And Texas alone has confiscated more than enough fentanyl to kill every person in the country. That's only what they've confiscated.
Right.
So they created this Operation Lone Star, and it consists of 1,000 Texas officers and 1,000 National Guard to defend the border. They have to do this. The state of Texas has to do this because our useless president and his useless vice president, who goes to El Paso for a photo shoot, while Trump actually goes to the area where the trouble is really happening. Go ahead. Do you want to talk about that?
It's just ridiculous.
So she goes for, Kamala goes for a photo shoot. So anyway, they got this Operation Lone Star. 1,000 Texas officers, 1,000 National Guard. There have been 1,800 criminal arrests so far and 40,000 apprehensions. So Texas is doing what the federal government should be doing. There's other border countries though too. I hope they're able
Arizona,
to
New Mexico, California, all those places.
So I hope they're able to do the same thing. Like I said before, Texas allotted $1.2 billion to move forward with the border wall. They no longer have catch and release,
And this is great. Texas just created this law that if caught in Texas jumping the border, you go to jail. So that is a big flaming middle finger to Joe Biden and the Democrats for doing nothing, because we know why we know why they want the open border. They want to turn Texas blue because Texas is their big opposition. Now Florida is becoming a real huge opposition for them too, but they're slowly trying to take these red states and turn them.
It's a long-term plan.
Yeah,
it's like a communist manifesto. You know, it's the Saul Alinsky. This is what you do, step by step by step by step, little by little, affect the media, brainwash the people, make everybody feel this is okay to do, turn their attention away from all the important things. It's just textbook stuff. And if you're in it, you don't see it, which is, again, what I say to so many of my left-wing friends. I go, just back up a little bit and look around, see what's going on, because this is perfectly clear if you're not standing inside of it.
Yeah. Yep.
All the stuff we talk about, we see it, we're going, well, that's that, obviously.
Yeah. And stuff makes sense. Well, let's watch that clip of, this is a really cool clip of Governor Abbott in Texas. Go ahead, Danny.
We in Texas have been left to our own devices to fend for ourselves. It's like we're some outpost somewhere along some territory that the federal government doesn't care about anymore. It's not like it was with President Trump. He cared about Texas. He stepped up to Texas. He built a wall in Texas.
So there you have it. Pointing out the fact that President Trump did it right and Biden is a slouch and Texas has to step up to the plate to take care of what the federal government should be doing.
Well, at least I think a lot of these events, I would hope, are illuminating to some people who don't understand what the United States of America is supposed to mean. These are states. That's their gig. They're protecting their citizens. If they're going to step up to do that, which is what they should do, that should be applauded. That shouldn't be looked at like they're doing something treasonous or something. That's their job.
Well, the reason it looks treasonous and the reason the media doesn't want it is because what they're doing is they're preventing future Democrat voters and they're preventing the Democrats from being able to capitalize off these people.
Right.
And that's ultimately what the Democrats want. They want to be able to capitalize off illegal immigrants. Because, at some point with all these illegal immigrants, Democrats are going to all of a sudden cast their, magic wand and say, yep, you're all legal, you're all able to vote.
Oh, soon. That absolutely will happen down the line. There's no way around
So
they have to, right? They will have to. That's what the plan has to be.
That's what the plan would be. And remember what we did for you, they'll say. Remember what we did for you, all you illegal immigrants. We gave you a new life. We gave your families a new life. We gave your future generations a new life. Right. And you get to now prosper in America and live the American dream because of us Democrats. That's what they're going to say. And it's maybe not in so many words,
right.
But
well, first of all, that's a good persuasion technique. That's reciprocation. You
Yeah.
give people stuff and then they give
because
it back.
people feel obligated.
Right, absolutely. Second of all, the false part of that is that you get to come and live the American dream. That ain't the American dream. The American dream ain't to come here and be taken care of. That's not what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be able to come here and prosper and be free and have liberty and do what you want to do to make your life what you want it to be.
Yep.
Got nothing to do with the government.
I love the Italian immigrants, for instance, a few generations back, who would come and would come with nothing in their pocket, and they'd come here and they'd learn the language, they'd learn the American traditions. They would keep their traditions too in their family.
Sure.
And because I grew up in an Italian family, but they would also had a real strong respect for American values, and they love celebrating the 4th of July and Independence
Right.
Day, and they love celebrating all the American holidays. And they really appreciate it, and they found a way to take traditional American values and incorporate it into their life while keeping their values, right, and being able to prosper through hard work, effort, and doing things the right way. But the Democrats are trying to bring in a new breed of immigrant, which is what you talk about, dependency and victimhood.
It's upside down.
And
That's why when people say, well, this nation was built on immigrants. Yeah, but not on that kind of immigrant.
Good point.
It was built on the immigrants that came in here looking to create a life for themselves, not to take stuff.
Right.
That's what I found out about Italians. Oh, construction worker friend of mine the other day said, we were talking about nicknames for different ethnic groups and stuff. And we were talking about, Mexicans, because I used to date a girl down in Beacon, and you could drive through Beacon on a weekday morning, and there'd be Mexicans sitting all over the place looking for day work, right? But that's why they used to call Italians day-goes, because they used to go out and look for day work, right? I didn't know that. It made complete sense. But let's go out and get some work. But even the Mexicans that are out there looking for work, I give them credit that they're out there looking for work. If they're illegal, they're not supposed to be here, but at least they're hardworking people that aren't supposed to be here.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I grew up, people don't know this, but I'm half Italian, so people don't know that because they don't see my mother's maiden name was ended with a vowel. So I'm not going to say what it was, but it ended with a vowel. So so I grew up in this primarily because my mom's family was primarily the family that I grew up in. And it was great. It was just, lots of good food, number one. And, 7 years old, finish your wine at dinner, finish your red wine.
Right.
I'm just joking, but
No,
we could do all those things. Right. Drinking red wine at dinner when we were kids.
See, I was on the other side of that. I'm half Italian. My father was Italian, but he was the youngest of 12. So I didn't know any of my family on my father's side, and I knew everybody on my mother's side. So we were like, Irish Protestant farmers on the other side. So you had that whole thing. Even though my mother did learn how to cook really well as far as the Italians.
Well, it was a good life. we were taught values. We were taught. We were also, reprimanded when we did something
held responsible,
wrong,
right?
Smacked in the head,
right?
And but it was more of a productive way of living. It's like you're not going to sit around.
They were teaching you strategies, right? This is how we came to this country. We made ourselves better. We're going to pass that along to the next generation. But like you said before, when that generational process gets interrupted, where are the kids going to get it from? It's got to be education. And if you're stifling education and filling it up with all kinds of truth that you think people need to know in order to have, the kind of outlook that they should have, I don't see where it goes. It goes nowhere.
Yeah. Great show, but we're out of time. So thanks, John. Thanks for watching The Loaded Mic on YouTube, Rumble, Simul TV, and Right America Media. You can also catch the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, whatever your favorite podcast app is, we're there. I'm Dan Wos, and the Second Amendment is not a privilege, it's your right.
Hey everybody, we're back. Tina Griffin here, host of Counterculture Mom. And this is a Father's Day special we're doing today with three amazing dads talking about different fatherhood tips that we need to have in American homes today to raise counterculture warriors in those homes. And this is about honoring true heroes, not Cardi B, not Nicki Minaj, but America's dads. And what better way to hit a home run than to have dear friend, Rebel Dad, join me here. Ryan Dobson, what's up, buddy?
Hey, good to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I have to go back about a couple years, 15, 20 years. You probably won't remember. But the second I found out that this show was launching, first time ever on Father's Day, I knew it had to be you and my husband for the top two guests to have on the show. But the wild thing is, you and I had dinner together one night in Hollywood,
Yeah.
going back about 17, 18 years. Well, I left that night and God's like, you're going to meet your husband through Ryan Dobson. I'm like, what in the world? So I kind of stored it. It was a weird thought, came out of nowhere. So you connected me with Kelly Ewing at Ambassador.
That's right. Yeah. I remember this.
Connected
That's
me
right.
with Nate Griffin, and then Nate brought in his brother. So
That's right. That's right.
You're the reason I'm married today for 14 years with 4 children. And now I'm very thankful for you because you're going to be giving me and a bunch of listeners today some great parenting tips.
That's awesome. Yeah, I celebrated 16 years this past Sunday. Yeah.
Well, you
got a
and
tattooed on my finger right there. So that's my wedding date. Husbands, there's a good husband tip.
Husband tip. Put a tattoo
If you
on your finger.
If you forget dates and you're worried about forgetting your anniversary for the rest of your life, just tattoo it on your hand. It's super easy.
Absolutely hilarious. And I do remember you texted me about 2 or 3 weeks later when we were hanging out in Hollywood. And you're like, I met my wife. And it was very quick for you. Didn't you get married in like 3 days?
No, let's see. We had our first date. It was a blind date. Total blind date. Never seen each other. Talked on the phone a couple times, but that was it. Like nothing major. And we met on a Sunday night and we were engaged to the day 3 weeks later.
Oh, I knew it was fast.
And then from that day to our wedding date was 5 months and 3 days. We didn't know each other 6 months. Like we had not known each other 6 full months on our wedding day. Oh yeah, totally.
Ryan, I think the it spread to us, but you beat my record. I thought we were faster than you, and no way. No, Luke wanted it to be that fast. He threw the top of our wedding cake on a plate, threw me in the car and said, we're not doing our first dance. We'll do it at the hotel. I'm like, Luke, seriously, can you just wait, a couple minutes. Let me enjoy the wedding ceremony here.
Right.
So
Yeah.
What's that? For the parents tune in for the first time, they probably don't know all of the amazing resources you've got. You are the host of Rebel Parenting Podcast. And Ryan, knowing you, Rebel parenting was the exact term you need to have for your ministry because it's exactly where you're at and what your mission is. You're leading
really
a
is.
rebellion.
Yeah. Yeah. Parenting really has been turned on its head. Marriages, families been turned on its head over the last couple decades. Honestly, this is just one tiny, tiny example. I was talking to my dad. For those that don't know, my dad's James Dobson. He founded Focus on the Family, now James Dobson Family Institute. He and I were talking about California. Now, I have a learning disability in math. I was born this way. I've been tested by a trained professional. And in my brain, math and language don't work. They just plain don't work. And that's okay. It does cause problems from time to time. Like especially when I travel and I'm traveling and I'm changing time zones a bunch of times, most of the time I will call my wife the night before I fly home to make sure I'm getting up on time because my brain just doesn't work that way. And that's fine. I couldn't care less, honestly. California, this is such a nuanced thing, but they're doing away with algebra in junior high and calculus in high school, and they are no longer grouping students by ability. And what they came out and said is, we are doing away with the notion that some kids are born with abilities and some aren't.
Wow.
Some kids are born gifted, some aren't born gifted, and we don't believe that exists at all. But here's the hardest part about that. In the 60s, when my dad was getting his PhD at USC in Southern California, everyone, all psychologists believed children were born what they called tabula rasa, which is blank slate. There was no discussion of nature versus nurture. It was only nurture. Parents were responsible for every action their child made was a parental responsibility or fault. Now we know that's not true. Kids are born with temperaments and personalities. You can have identical twins with wildly different personalities. Why I bring that up is what California is telling teachers. Any school teacher should listen to this. What they're saying is if you get junior high Ryan in your class, it's your fault I can't learn math like the other students. They're putting every bit of responsibility on the teachers. They're saying, my friend Don, his wife was a math professor at the Air Force Academy. By the way, civilian professor, which is super rare. They're saying that Kimberly and I were born with the exact same ability. The only difference is the quality of teacher I had. And that's terrifying for a teacher.
Absolutely. Plus you got 25, 30 students in there. Then you got the whole COVID thing where everybody's learning online. So here's my question with this.
Yeah.
Ryan, we've got first of all, I want people to know exactly who you are for the extra work. You are the author of 6 books. You include multiple bestsellers. Dobson is a radio host, has top 20 iTunes podcast. That's awesome, Ryan. That's really cool. Has spoken to more than 1 million people around the world and has appeared in numerous major media outlets, including Fox News, Huckabee, the Wall Street Journal, print edition. And of course, you and your wife, Laura, live in Colorado with your 2 kids. That is crazy. A lot of pressure on these teachers. So my question would be this. You're saying hi to neighbors. The biggest thing that I get when I've been speaking now for 20 years, this month actually, to parents around the country about pop culture media influence is a lot of parents are thinking, am I going to have any hair left? I am now parenting a ton of teens in the home. How can you raise teens in the home and make it a peaceful environment? And if it's not peaceful right now, how do you get it to be peaceful?
Totally. Yeah. Okay. You know me. I will not sugarcoat this. Of course you can. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Here's the deal. It just takes way more work on the parent's part. And a lot of people don't agree with me, and you do whatever you want. I'm going from personal experience, from a ton of research and every expert I can possibly get my hands on. I can tell you, there's just little things. It takes more work on a parent's part. And what it means is you get to be the adult. By the way, you get to be a parent. It's so awesome. It's
what a wild concept.
Seriously, that's the first part. One, if you don't like being a parent, start telling yourself you do. You know, there's a thing that I snapped into about, maybe a decade ago, and it's called the 5-Minute Journal, and it's based on gratitude. And what scientists say is people are born with a happiness quotient. It's just your median happiness level, and that doesn't really change throughout lifetime. If something amazing happens, you win the lottery, your happiness quotient will go up for about 2 years and then drop down to its homeostasis again. Same thing with a sad incident. You lose a child or a loved one, it'll go down, go back up around 2 years. What they say is through gratitude practices, you can raise and keep your happiness quotient higher if you're regularly grateful. And so when I became a parent, I don't want a pity party. And my dad has been known for decades as the foremost authority on marriage and parenting. So for me, there was a large pressure to be a great parent out of the box. And I quickly learned I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I just thought maybe by osmosis, all the Dobson info would have, transpired into me, and it did not transfer to me. And my parenting started off fear-based, and I was bad at it. And I was irritating my kids. I was frustrating my wife. And I can tell you, Tina, the direction they were going. My son is naturally very compliant. And my daughter is she's a little spicy. And I say that so lightly now at age 9, because when she was little, she was very spicy. And Lincoln was very, very compliant. But I was so afraid of blowing it that I was pushing them away from me. Wow. Lincoln wouldn't have been outright rebellious, but we would not have a close relationship because I was a dictator. I was overbearing. I could never have a situation where you shouldn't be or couldn't be coached up. And I used every opportunity to tell you what a better job you could be doing. And that's not okay.
Ryan,
it's not. And
I have to tell you, I have been the same way. And I don't know if it's perfectionism. I'm the oldest in my family. My dad, they paid us $5 for the A's. And I'm not saying they were like, you better do a great job or else. But I put this high expectation on myself. I got one life to live. I can't screw up. You just nailed something huge right now with the fear you were going to mess up that actually drove your kids away. It makes me somewhat want to cry, but praise the Lord you got back on that track, and that's why you created Rebel Parenting. What do you tell to the parents right now who are raising really young kids? Because you said something profound when you emailed me that you get down physically to their level. Do you go on your knees and talk to them face to face? Explain that, and that's such a killer idea.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do it with both my kids because they were very different. Some people have strong-willed children. They were born with the middle finger in the air. They just want to fight. And some kids are born totally compliant. You look at them in the mirror and it's like, yes, no, sit, stand, dance, what? Yeah, I'll do whatever you want. I just want to make you happy. And that's that thing you think, well, will it work with either kid? Here's the truth. With both my kids, one, expect them to make mistakes and make them all the time. Because as human adults, we make mistakes all the time.
So true.
And you can't beat them up for it. If you beat them up for making mistakes, for failing, they're just going to hide it from you. They're not going to run to you. Our key principle in rebel parenting is the same thing in faith. So a religiosity says, oh my goodness, I screwed up. God is going to kill me. But my faith in Jesus Christ, the relationship I have with him says, oh my goodness, I screwed up. I got to run until Jesus.
Yeah, that's so true. And how many times do you hear that? I've never heard anybody say that right there.
But that's the same thing with a parent. I don't want my kid to go, oh my goodness, I screwed up. My dad is going to kill me. What am I going to do? He's going to kill me. He's got to go, oh my goodness, I've made the worst mistake in my life. I got to run and tell my dad right now.
This is so profound. People tuning in right now. This is Ryan Dobson, dear friend of mine, 15, 20 years now. Rebel Parenting. You have to check out his podcast. What you said is so good because I probably give myself a D. Maybe a little bit better. No, I used to be so hard on the kids. I'm starting to lighten up now. I don't know if COVID did that to me where I'm like, it's okay. We have children that are not dying of cancer. I didn't lose a baby, during pregnancy. No one in my family died of COVID and everything just came real to me. Enjoy the process of parenting. And my 12-year-old right now is running sound. So I'm okay with messing up together.
100%. And here's the thing, Tina. This is what I know for sure, because every parent that comes to me that's like that, I struggled with anger for so long. I was such the angry person, the yeller, the breaker, the stormer, the whole deal. But you are so much harder on yourself than you are your kids, and that bounces off of you and hits them. And I was destroying myself with my inner voice. I was you failure. You're the world's gonna find out you're a fraud. You talk like you come from some parenting legacy. You're the worst parent. I mean, we all do that. Type A's do it more, and then we do it to our kids because we think, well, if I can just make them good,
my life wasn't a waste.
Well, then I can be a failure, but since they're good, it's okay.
Right.
And I'm telling you, I started telling myself, I love being a parent. I love being a parent. I love being my kid's parent. And I didn't because I was a failure and it made me feel bad about myself. I was a bad parent. And I just kept telling myself, you love being a parent. You love being your kid's parent. And here's the other thing. Good. I started telling them, man, I love being your dad. I was lying. Not that I'm not so honored that the Lord let me be their dad, but I was embarrassed of the job I was doing. But I just kept telling them, I love being your dad. And the looks on their faces like, oh,
cool.
Thank you.
Because
you do?
They don't know.
Why? Why do you like being my dad? Oh man, it's so fun to be with you. You're so intelligent. You have such amazing thoughts that come out of your brain. Like tell them specifically why you like, because that will change your relationship. Because it will. Think about your boss. This is why I started thinking about parenting. We've all had bad bosses. Think about your boss. If your boss spoke to you the way you speak to yourself, you'd quit. But if you had a boss that walked in and was like, man, I am so glad I hired you. You really do a great job. In fact, it's not just that you do the job I asked. You think of other things you can do. You make my life easier. If your boss told you that, you would be there first in the day, last at home, working extra hard because you feel appreciated and cared for and protected and you're safe. And
Ryan,
you got to tell your kids that.
Absolutely. You literally are changing my life right now. You are changing my life right now. I really, it's a 1-2 punch, Ryan, 1-2 punch. You have such killer questions. I got 3 more that I want to nail out because I wish this interview was like 78 hours long.
Wait, okay. Let me ask your second one. Cause you talked about getting it at your child's level. So my daughter, people listening, just don't go and tease her. Don't go and say, like, my whole life I heard stories about me, and I really try to, respect my kids' boundaries. Lucy was born in a way that when it reacted against my parenting style and my temperament, you would have said she would be classically strong-willed. And here's the thing, Tina, I learned by age 2.5 or 3, when she turned, 2.5 or 3, she was stronger than me. She just was. Her willpower is so much stronger than mine. And I got to tell you, as a type A person who believes he's right most of the time, that was terrifying because I knew I couldn't win. If I tried to spank her into submission, it would have been child abuse. 100%. When you escalate with any parent that's got a child understands the escalation point. Any dad listening will understand. When you feel a child is wrong and you're right, oftentimes, not every time, oftentimes dads will stand up taller, puff your chest out, the voice gets deeper because I'm right. I am a correct person. I'm bigger than you. I'm stronger than you. I'm taller. I've lived longer and I am right and you are wrong and now you're going to obey me. That whole thing. When I took it from like a 4 to a 5, Lucy just set the house on fire. She took it to a 50 and I literally realized if you continue down this road, you are never going to have a relationship with that kid. Never.
It makes absolute complete sense. And you have a section here, preteens, junior high, and teens, the importance of being near them. It goes right into that. Can you explain the importance of being near with your kids and spending quality time with them, even if they're 15, 20 minutes a day on special projects?
100%. With Lou, I get, when she would get upset, I would stop. I would get very calm, which I don't want to do. Instantly, adrenaline wants to fight. I would get very calm, get on my knees, get down at her level, and listen.
Wow.
That changed everything with her. And the second one was, we do this with little girls. I'm sure we do it with little boys, but with little girls especially, the whole thing when they're crying, you go, don't cry, it's okay, don't cry, it's okay, don't cry, don't cry, it's okay. You know what I'm talking about? Kids.
Right.
Every adult does this. My wife looked at me one day. This is why I'm married to her. This is why she's the greatest. She goes, why do you keep doing that? You cry all the time. No one tells you to stop crying. What are you doing? And it was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm uncomfortable with tears, but I should be. When I started saying, oh, do you need to cry? Oh, come here. And just opening my arms, being completely fine with the emotions and it stopped. She is the sweetest, kindest, if I told you Lucy was strong-willed, people would slap me. They'd be like, what are you talking about? This angel, this precious angel you think is strong. She's not. But she didn't change. I did. I changed. With teens and junior hires, just be near them. Just read a book in their room. I lay on my son's bed while he plays video games, while he screams at his friends and plays video games, because every now and then he'll turn it off and go, hey, Dad, you know what? And I go, I don't have any idea.
Right. What? And then
by the way,
the line of communication, just spending time.
Yes, you can't have your phone. Every study shows, Shanti Feldhan has done an amazing study. She is the perfect guest, by the way. Shanti is a genius. If you have a cell phone on you, your kids are like 70% less likely to talk to you about anything of importance. They know. If it buzzes and you pick it, because you know that. Listen, one of my best friends from college passed away, and I ran into a mutual friend, and we were talking about it, and in the middle of a sentence, he pulled his phone out and looked at it for a couple of seconds, and then put it back in his pocket and looked up at me again. And I can remember being like, oh, I'm done.
Right.
Wow.
No more interest, because what I was saying wasn't important enough for you to finish hearing me.
We're talking about the death of a mutual great friend.
Yeah.
I mean, it was it was like, oh, and that's why and here's the deal. You got to tell yourself over and over and over and over and over again, you get to do this.
Right.
You get to do
and you
this.
get one shot to do it.
No. Nope, you don't.
You don't
if
get
you have
one
blown
shot
it,
to do
if
it.
you've blown it every second of their life, you've been the worst, rottenest, horrible parent. You can turn it around right this second.
So
And
even if your son's like 48, that's so true.
Who
Come on
cares?
over for dinner. Let's start mending a relationship.
You know what you got to do? Here's how you do it. I am so sorry. I was wrong. when you were young
Mm.
and I acted that way, I cannot imagine the damage I have done to you. I don't even know if I can ask for your forgiveness, but I will be a better person. When I tell you, Tina,
Ow.
I looked in my kid's face after yelling again for the 50,000th time. And I was like, I am so sorry. Daddy is struggling with anger. I really am going to be better. And I saw the look in their faces like, okay.
Here we go again. Right.
Here we go. And you know what I said? I went, oh, I've said this too many times, haven't I? And everybody went like this, like, my wife was like, oh crap, what do we do?
Right.
Is an explosion about to come because we just showed Ryan a mirror. And I went, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm going to go get help. And I did. I went to therapy.
I
and it's horrible. It works, but it's terrible. Again, I don't sugarcoat it. It's terrible. Being wrong, being wrong, it stinks so bad.
Yeah,
But
if
you
you're
could be
showing your
better.
Kids, it's okay. Exactly. You nailed it. We got like 2 minutes and I have to get to your website. But you, once again, made me think differently about the fact that we don't just got one shot to raise our children. Shame
Nope.
on me. Okay, that's
It's
so
the
true.
best.
I have to look at what words
Yeah.
I'm personally using. So 2 thumbs down on Counterculture Mom with getting a couple things wrong here in this interview, but that's why I have you on.
No. Everybody
so I
makes the
can
mistake.
learn.
Everybody does.
It's
Everybody
so
makes a
wild.
mistake.
You're making
Don't beat
me
yourself up.
reevaluate everything.
Yeah. Listen,
Okay, so-
rebelparenting.org, RyanDobson.com. Either way, just look up Ryan Dobson. You'll find me somewhere.
So
Seriously,
here it
parents,
is.
I
So
promise.
here's your podcast, right? You want everybody to go on the podcast and check it out?
Yeah, Rebel Parenting podcast. I just want parents to understand, I promise you can do it. The Lord chose you uniquely and specifically for your child. Whether it's adopted, foster, or natural, the Lord looked down when he created this earth and went, you're the exact person that's right for this kid. Oh my goodness, you're the best. That's how the Lord thinks of you. He thinks of you and he shakes with violent emotion, and you can be great. It takes work.
Yeah.
It takes work. It takes learning how to apologize and be a better person. But I'm telling you, at 16 years in, having gone through just the most ups and downs, I'm telling you, I love being married and I love being a parent, and you can too. I promise.
We can. And you know what? It means a lot to me. You came on and you have such great tips. No wonder you wrote a bunch of books and spoke to a million people. Now, people can give online to you too, correct? Right through Rebel Parenting?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you give one good piece of advice to our listeners today about the role of marriage in being a parent? I think that's key.
100%. Yeah. Lastly, Tina, honestly, whenever we do parenting conferences, we tell people your marriage is the first thing you should work on in your parenting. If you want your kids to be good with money, learn how to be good with money. You want kids to be good communicators? Learn how to communicate. You want kids to love their wife? Love your wife. You want kids to respect their husband? Respect your husband. It's work. It's the most important thing. Listen, if your spouse won't go to counseling with you, go by yourself, because you will get better and they will too, because you will be acting differently. It's the same thing I did with my kids. I worked on me and they changed because I changed first. This is the power of Jesus Christ. It takes one to tango.
Ryan, thank you for being with us today. You guys can get all the show notes surrounding this program. Make sure you get it. Make sure you share it with people. You probably can think of 30 parents you can send this to right now, or tell them to tune into the podcast.
Appreciate it.
Watch the show on Liftable TV, wherever you're tuning in from with this program. Ryan, stay tuned. Don't go away. But thank you so much for your expert advice today on this Father's Day special to help us be better parents in the home, and especially dads. You guys have a tough job. Thank you for being a leader and being that example that everyone needs to see.
Oh, you're very kind. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No worries. Well, that wraps it up with our Father's Day special with Ryan Dobson. You definitely, without a doubt, want to get our Counterculture Mom app. It's phenomenal. We have about 20-some people pumping out pop culture every single day with excellent advice like Ryan Dobson, his program of BB in here, as well as great parenting books and what to run from with the world of pop culture, so your kids learn how to be a father and not watch the nasty hogwash coming out of Hollywood right now about how the fathers aren't even in the home anymore. So make sure you check out that. And you also want to check out counterculturemom.com and get our summer show special, which is all of our goodies from our store for one low price. Check that out, Counterculture Mom store. Make sure you get out there, make a difference with parenting. If you have a father that needs some help and guidance, lead them to this episode with Ryan Dobson. Once again, Tina Griffin, Counterculture Mom, signing off from the Counterculture Mom Show. Let's go out there and make a difference for our kids and our country.